Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video episode on ForgottenWeapons.com. Today we're taking a look at something a little bit out of our normal scope. We're looking at an antique pocket pistol. So you might take one look at this and go, that looks like a really beat up old piece of crap. And I suppose in some ways it is, but it's also kind of an iconic gun, and I think it holds an interesting place in firearms history, as well as having one particularly interesting mechanical feature. So this is an Iver-Johnson Safety Hammerless. It was, this is the second model, and they were made from about 1899 until just prior to World War I. They're actually proofed for black powder 32 Smith & Wesson cartridges, sometimes called Smith & Wesson short. And really this was, at that time period, kind of the stereotypical working man's cheap pocket pistol. Iver-Johnson is not a bad company by any stretch. These are actually quite high quality guns. Not so much as maybe a Colt from the same time period, but they're a good economical option. That was the market that Iver-Johnson was really trying to sell to. So now the mechanical feature on this pistol that I found pretty interesting, and is in fact why I bought this one, despite the way it looks, is the trigger safety. Let's get in and take a close look at this. So there is a bar mounted inside the trigger. That little pin is what it pivots on, and that's the safety. It's the same sort of thing that you see on Glock that a lot of people think was pretty cool and innovative on Glock's case. Well, Iver-Johnson was making that exact mechanism more than 100 years earlier, or about 100 years earlier. So the idea is this bar simply prevents the trigger from coming back unless it has been depressed. So if basically you can't have a discharge without actually pulling back on the trigger. Now Iver-Johnson also had a pretty famous safety campaign called Hammer the Hammer, where they would show people actually beating on the hammer of a pistol and the firing pin not going anywhere and the gun not firing. This is one of the hammerless models. It's actually a concealed hammer inside the frame. So this was really designed for pocket carry and does a pretty good job at it. It's a very, very slim pistol. It's a 5-shot cylinder. The sights are tiny and more or less worthless, but it's only meant for shooting right up close. It's a top brake design, so to open it up, you lift this lever and the whole thing hinges open. As you saw, it has an automatic extractor right here. When it gets all the way up, the extractor drops back down. You reload it manually, close it up. Just a quick identification guide. The first model of these, which were only made for a few years in the 1890s, didn't have this two-sided lever. They had a lever for opening the gun that was only on the left side of the pistol. The second model is easily recognized by having this trigger safety. And then for the third model, they actually got rid of the trigger safety. So the third model has an opening lever like this one and no trigger safety. The third model is also the only one that was proofed from the factory for smokeless powder loads. This pistol was intended for black powder. I will tell you I'm going to be shooting some light smokeless handloads in it, which really isn't a good idea for the longevity of the pistol. But frankly, this is not a particularly collectible specimen, and I'm not putting very many rounds through it. So over time, shooting even relatively light smokeless loads will cause the cylinder gap to stretch and the timing to get out of whack. And the reason being, smokeless powder has a different pressure curve. It burns faster. And even if a smokeless and a black powder load have the same ultimate muzzle velocity, the smokeless powder load will develop more pressure at its peak. So if you're going to shoot one of these, a first or second model, with any regularity, you really ought to use black powder loads. So the key to successfully and efficiently, smoothly reloading a top brake revolver like this is to pop it open with a little bit of snap. So pop that. When you do that, the automatic ejector does a real nice job of tossing everything out. Then we can reload it. snap it back in. And on the Iver-Johnson, there is nothing that holds the cylinder in place when the trigger's not engaged. What happens is when you pull the trigger, it automatically indexes it to the next cylinder and holds it in place until you release the trigger. So if you're looking to buy one and you find one that just spins freely like that, don't worry, that's actually part of the design. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Tune back into ForgottenWeapons.com for more unusual old pistols.